Hey everybody, Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy, and I am back with another fun-filled video for you. I put up the Knife Shark Bite quick preview video for this knife, and I don't think it didn't surprise me that I didn't get a lot of hits on it. Reason being is that it's an art knife. It is a different type of knife. We don't normally even consider this EDC. I mean, art knives are in another category. However, the way Deshorn does it, he kind of stays in that border between an art knife and EDC, because there are some art knives from some South African knife makers that a lot of people here in America wouldn't even look at, just because they're so exotic in style and they're so completely different than anything that we would consider using ourselves in our everyday life. This knife, on the other hand, is one of those that kind of crosses the line. You could still carry it as an EDC. It is not one that is over the top, that looks quite strange. Again, a lot of the materials that knife makers use in South Africa are mostly used in the region, where they live, where you have materials that are just so exotic, like shark teeth and whalebone and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this knife here and what makes this knife so unique. So again, this is a Deshorn piece. Deshorn keeps popping up in my collection. I have 6 of his knives in my collection now. I did not plan on that, but as it turns out, I'm a very big fan of what this gentleman does. He is the he is the father of South African knife making, as a lot of people do say, including people who live in South Africa say that. He pretty much, we can't say that he started South African knife making, but he is one of the founders who popularized custom knives in South Africa. So let's go ahead and take a look at this piece, and then we will get into the size comparison and specs. So what I always like to do is I always like to take a look at the knife, just open it up so you guys can take a look. This is a front flipper piece. And as I turn it around, give you guys a good look at this piece. Keep in mind, yes, this is an art knife. So again, this is probably exotic to some people, to some maybe not so. I mean, I'm in the not so category. This knife has lightning strike carbon fiber for the scales on both sides of the knife. We have stainless steel Damascus bolsters, and of course the Damascus steel blade. This is what we would call a full dress piece. Every piece on every part of this knife has some sort of art on it, including the backspacer. Backspacer has some beautiful hand-done file work, as you can see, done by Deshorn. I'm going to have to bring the knife in a little bit closer so you guys can see, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But the backspacer is made of Damascus. So if I were to put it a little bit closer, yeah, you can't really, yeah, it's just too, yeah, I don't know what that, the vibration, I guess, from the camera being that close, I don't know. But yeah, the backspacer is Damascus. So we have an innovation by Deshorn, which you've seen before on one of my other knives. I have another knife with this mechanism in it. This is called the ball release. Basically, instead of a liner lock, it's kind of another way to do a liner lock version. Rather than sticking your hand into the liner and then pushing your thumb over and then closing the blade, he adds this little what we call a release ball. A lot of people mistake this for an automatic knife. It's not. Basically, the release ball allows you to close the knife. Okay, so if I were to flip the knife open and then I want to close it, there you go. So as art knives go, I mean, you can either take them or leave them. And so I can explain a little bit further. There is a line that a lot of us don't want to cross when it comes to carrying a knife in our pocket as far as aesthetics go. Let me give you a quick example. So this knife here by Des Horn, which I did a video on last week, this one looks sort of similar. However, this one looks more like a knife than this one that I'm presenting to you guys today. This one is truly an art knife. One thing that makes it more of an art knife is the fact that there's no pocket clip on the knife, right? There is no pocket clip on this knife. This is the way that Des Horn likes to have his knives. A lot of knife makers will present to you the knife the way they like the knife to be, and they just hope that you would catch on and appreciate it as well. One of the big knife makers that does that is Chris Reeve. I mean, the guy pretty much operates on his own drum. A lot of people you either kind of love Chris Reeve knives or you hate Chris Reeve knives. And, I don't want to go into all of that, but there are reasons why people don't enjoy a Chris Reeve knife the way that a lot of us do. Because we have accepted Chris Reeve's idea of a knife as opposed to having us be angry about the fact that he can't make a knife that is drop shut smooth and all of that and the way we're used to it. So this knife is more like an EDC knife, even though this is almost sort of similar. The action operates the way we like it to. There's a pocket clip on the knife. So this is probably about as fancy as any of us will go to carrying an EDC in our pocket, have it be art, and have us still love it. Versus this, which has no pocket clip. It's got this, kind of a mechanism that you're probably not used to. Maybe you either love it or you hate it, but it's not something that you're used to. You're going to have to open up your mind in a way. Which brings me to my third knife I wanted to show you. Now, this is probably what most of us consider to be a custom knife. This is also a custom knife, but this is very, very much more so EDC than this knife, and definitely more so than this one, right? So it's just a matter of opening up your mind and allowing yourself to understand what you have in your pocket is, just happens to be more artful than what you're used to. So let's go ahead and get into the size comparisons. Let me get this out of the way now that I got the whole art knife lecture done. Let's talk about this knife. So this is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece by Des Horn. As it says right there on the information card, one-of-a-kind handmade piece. You will never see another one like this ever again. Probably. I'm always going to say probably. Although I shouldn't. It has to do with integrity of a knife maker. If a knife maker says it's going to be a one-of-a-kind, just take his word for it and that it's a one-of-a-kind. So in this case, Des Horn being a stand-up guy, I'm going to say that yes, this is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. The blade length of this knife is 3.25 inches. I'm reading this off of the information card. The cutting length is 3.2 inches. The total length of the knife from the top of the knife all the way down to the bottom of it is 7.75 inches. So just shy 8 inches. The blade height at the heel is 0.70. Near the bolster, as we get near the, actually, let me turn this over. As we get near the bolster, it's 0.9, and then over by midpoint, it is 0.9, and then as we get down to the tip, it's 0.02 inches. The knife weighs 3.4 ounces. It is, I would say it's a medium weight knife in my hand. So Des Horn, oops, my thing just ripped. So Des Horn's style of knife making has always been very, very precise, including the blade. His blades go through a rigorous heat treatment, and then it is quenched in sub-zero quenched in double, and then double tempered in, basically in liquid nitrogen. So to give it the strength that we need. So let's go ahead and do some size comparisons on this. We're going to start out with a knife that just came back by Knife Joy, which is the Spyderco Swish Bowie. Mine is Cerakoted in gold and black. I did a video on this knife. You want to check that out? You can check that out on my channel. We're going to go ahead and put it up against the Kershaw carbon fiber. Kershaw Tumbler? No, not Tumbler. All of a sudden I forgot the name of this knife. I can't remember the name of this, but we'll go ahead and put it up against this carbon fiber by knife by Kershaw. How about the only integral in my collection, which makes me so sad, the Benchmade Anthem. So if we were to put it up against it, I mean, you can see that the knife is more sort of more into the medium range of almost becoming a normal size knife, let's say. Getting out of that medium territory. And let's take out this one. Put it up against the Benchmade Tengu Flipper, which is a smaller knife. Get rid of that. And one of my favorite, Zero Tolerance 0562. This is pretty much a staple in everybody's knife collection, is this knife right here. Everybody pretty much has that one. That's like the first high-end knife anybody runs into. One of my favorite, my very first high-end knife that I ever collected or ever bought, the Zero Tolerance 0900. So that's it for the size comparisons. It's a medium-sized knife overall. It does have some, you know, some EDC quality to it. I mean, obviously it's a front flipper piece, which is something that is very popular in South Africa. However, this one, I'm not saying it's as smooth as a drop shut, but it is a smooth knife. And it does open fairly easy. It does take some maneuvering by your finger. You have to get used to actually flipping this. It took me a while to get used to flipping it. But, if you're a knife person, flipping a knife is a part of the fun. So part of the fun of discovering how do I flip this knife on a regular basis and be comfortable doing it. Didn't take me that long. I mean, I've been flipping so long now that it's like I feel like I'm an expert at it. The knife does not run on ball bearings. It runs on washers only. But I mean, as you can see, I mean, the smoothness is there. It takes a little bit more of a jerk than your average knife, but it is still a smooth knife. And again, you have to take the knife for what it is. This is an art knife. It's not going to operate the way that a regular EDC knife normally would. It's just the way it is. But, I mean, like I said, this knife kind of falls into the art category. Kind of like that dividing line. If you want to go on Google and check out some serious art knives, you want to check out a South African knife maker named Corey Schumann. Another one would be Thuns Prinsloo. You can check those two guys and the way they make their knives on AfricanCustoms.com. I mean, those guys are like way over the top. I am considering purchasing one of those knives because I'm one of these knife collectors that wants to kind of delve into everything in the world of knife collecting. Of course, I'm still going to go off of the idea of, do I like the knife enough? There are knives out there that I will never buy, no matter how important they are. If I don't like them, I don't like them. I'm not going to buy them. But you know, if they stay relatively knife looking, I'll wind up getting it and it'll wind up in my collection in some way. Death's Horn is kind of like an opener for me into the world of art knives, and I think he's the perfect person for me to choose to buy a knife of this caliber. Yeah, the table price for this knife was very, very expensive. I got this for yeah, about $1,300. It was a very pricey piece, but I love this knife. I really, really do. There is no pocket clip with the knife, so what they do is they actually give you a pouch with it. Works quite well, but then again, I don't carry the pouch in my pocket. I just put the knife in my pocket. Pocket clips for me, I've spoken about this before. I need to have a pocket clip on my knife, but I don't use pocket clip. I know it's stupid, but I gotta have a pocket clip. But it doesn't, you know, I don't use the pocket clip. However, on an art knife, I will accept it without the pocket clip. So I was perfectly fine without the pocket clip on this one. You know, you can say that this knife is probably me trying to grow a little bit into the you know, into more exotic knives, because you can only appreciate action and, you know, the way a knife cuts and all of that stuff for so long. You're going to be looking for something else. So for me to get into this type of knife collecting, not extremely, but some will wind up in my collection, you know, it's just what I'm doing. That's all I can say. Speaking of cutting, let us take a look at the way this knife cuts. I mean, obviously this is a Damascus blade, so let's check it out on that. And as you guys can see, this guy is a very, very super sharp knife. It's killer. So yeah, Death's Horn does treat his blades awesomely. So, if any of you are in this point in your knife collecting where you don't know where to go next, I don't know if you're going to go this way. This is the way I've decided to go. You usually will reach a certain point in knife collecting where you're just going to stop, and you know, you just don't want to go on. But yeah, I'm going to keep going on. I mean, this art knives do interest me. However, I'm still going to stay in the realm of buying customs that are full-blown, just cool-looking, very fancy, wear with a suit and tie, full dress piece, custom knife that looks like a knife and has a pocket clip on it and has very beautiful materials on. You know, I'm going to be buying more knives like this. Every once in a while, an art knife will show up in my collection. So there you have it, the Death's Horn. And I forgot to mention the name of this knife, so I do apologize. The name of the knife is called the Shinkansen Bullet Front Flipper. If you want to know how this knife was inspired, Death's Horn went to Japan and right around the 1990s, and he saw those fast-moving Japanese electric trains, and he was inspired, because if you take a look at a Shinkansen bullet train, you'll see that this knife looks exactly, or you can see where the inspiration came from, because the Shinkansen bullet Japanese train, the head of it goes, kind of swoops down like this. And of course, if you stand it up this way, it looks like a train. So it was an inspired design by Death's Horn. So yeah, the Shinkansen Bullet Front Flipper with Dama Steel and Lightning Strike carbon fiber. An absolutely fantastic knife. Even though the knife is not as smooth as I like it, I gotta be honest, I love flipping this one. I have spoken about this before I close out this video. Death's Horn's jimping is probably the only thing I would change on his knives. It's very aggressive. After a few flips, your thumb will be sore. You'll start to have, you know, I actually had my thumb bleeding after flipping this guy. And all of my Death's Horn knives, you have to kind of take a rest from it. I even did the thing where I was so stupid I put tape on it because my thumb was killing me, and yet I still wanted to flip it. it's like complete hell, you know, but I'm enjoying the hell, you know. But what happens is over time, you know, once the it sounds so weird to talk about this, but once the pain goes away, the part where your thumb flips it actually toughens up and you don't even feel it anymore. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I think Deathhorn needs to consider changing his jimping and not making it quite so sharp. I mean, just taking a look at this knife, it is just spectacular. The way that he puts the knife together. I mean, that file work is all done by hand. You can now see that the Damascus is actually in there. That's one of the things I think is off on his knives, is that the Damascus doesn't quite do it justice because you can barely see it. Yeah. Needs to be more pronounced, but, you know, it's just the nature of the material that he's working. But I'm happy that it's in Damascus, so the file work is beautiful on that. Every piece of this knife has some sort of art in it. I want to talk about the mechanism a little bit first before I close out also. So basically there's a little metal piece inside the knife, as you can see. And the way it works is, if you take a close look at the knife, I wonder if I can bring this in closer. Nope. Yeah, never mind. If you take a look at the knife, you can see that the underside of the knife here is sort of angled. Try and get that out of there. You can see that it's angled a little bit, so when I press the knife, and keep in mind, this is done by hand, guys, hand. When you press the mercury ball, which is what this is, you press the mercury ball, right? It's perfectly angled so that you can close the blade. That is just one of the coolest things I've ever... That's basically how the mechanism works. He had to file that thing down by hand to get it so that when you press on the ball, it is exactly the right height, the right length, the right everything, so that you'll be able to close the knife. That takes a lot of work. That takes probably a lot of man hours just put in there just to get that, to do that, just to get it, just to create that mechanism like that. But that's what Deathhorn lives for, the hard work, and hopefully you'll appreciate his hard work when you buy one of his pieces. So this is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off on the Shinkansen bullet front flipper. I hope this has been a very interesting video for you and a little insight into my knife collection. Like I said, I'll be getting a knife like this, one of these art knives, occasionally. I'm not going to be going insane over that. I'm still going to be buying custom knives that look like this, because this is where my eyes tend to roam. But if I see one that's like, wow, I gotta have, yeah, I'll get that one. Everything that you do in this hobby is for pure aesthetics. So, I mean, you know, when you first consider getting a piece, yeah, you know, everything always goes with your eyes. I mean, one of the things that got me about this knife was that the Damascus was really blue and not purple. So anyway, this is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off, hoping you'll find your first custom in the near future, if you're at that point in your knife collecting where production knives are not doing it for you. I'm not saying you're going to go into something like this right away, but yeah, you're certainly going to probably go for, you know, something like this, you know, or at least something that looks more like, you know, a custom knife where, you know, you're getting things on knives that would be considered art, and that's pretty much how it begins. So for all you guys out there, this is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off, hoping you'll find your first custom knife in the near future. I've got other videos coming. I'm actually going to open up my collection and maybe go through all of my Kershaw discontinued knives again. So, because I'm kind of not going to buy a knife for a while. You know, the spending is getting a little out of hand, so this is the point in my knife collecting where I stop and pretty much just appreciate what I have. So this is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off, hoping you'll get your first custom knife in the near future. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great evening.